drawings, but what we're gonna try to do is get out in front of all those, try to do a lot of our review while the intervenor funds are available. So after the Article 10 is approved and the intervenor funds aren't available, then we're already gonna have a good set of standards in place and work with Chip and his team to make sure those engineering drawings, as they come in and approach 100%, they know what we're going to be looking for as it relates to the wind laws and the state speedies permits and all the other state requirements that are needed for a site to go into a site plan. So we're going to be looking into those, digging our heels into those, and making sure by the end of the day, we're going to meet, everything's going to be met. If they're not met, then we'll be working with Seth and the board to kind of work out what options there are, where they're not met, what can we do, to see where things can go. So we're going to kind of work through all that. We're going to make sure we know the wind law inside and out as we're going through the process to make sure we put a check mark next to everything that's done in there. And we'll also be fully involved in the road use agreement. We'll help with some inspections, make sure we review it, help out the board, and work with Chip's team to make sure everything's covered and we're there. So we'll be working closely with the board and with Seth's team to make sure everything's covered, and we'll be attending these board meetings. If you guys have questions for us, feel free to let us know. If I don't have an immediate answer, we'll certainly look it up and get back to you with an appropriate answer. Anyone have any questions for me at this time, or? Thank you.
Does anyone have any wind-related questions?
I have a quick question, Seth, Attorney Poulin. Barron Winds being a foreign limited liability company with its jurisdiction entity in Delaware, if the town or a leaseholder had a problem, would they have to go to court in Delaware?
No, as a entity doing business and doing actions in New York, it's subject to New York law. And for instance, if it relates to a wind lease or something like that, the real property proceedings law actually provides that a claim relating to property is brought and parties are subject to it in New York State courts. For if it's real property, it's actually the Supreme Court in whatever county that property is located.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to move on to new business. As you know, we've been working on the budget for the past 2 months. We've had our public hearing last month. We made the changes, and it was emailed out to you guys. So at this time, we need a resolution to approve the 2019 budget. Roll call?
Weaver,
Aye.
Whiteman,
Aye.
Bell,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Murray. Aye. 5 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstains.
And I also emailed the ambulance agreements and the fire department agreement for 2019. Were there any questions on that? The fire department's budget increase was due to new state mandate for insurance for individual firefighters. So that's why it went up a little bit. It was $2,000.
I make a motion to accept the fire department contract.
call?
Whitman,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Smith, Kiefer,
Aye.
Murray.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstains.
And then the ambulance contract, that stayed the same. They definitely do a lot for the town, do a good job.
How much was it this, for next year?
15,000.
Okay.
I mean, we're to approve it. The ambulance budget. You say? I'm gonna keep it. And the fire department. Okay.
What?
The ambulance contract.
Okay,
Move to accept.
okay.
I second.
Okay.
Roll call?
Murray,
Aye.
Smith, Bill, Kiefer,
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstains.
And then we have a few old equipment. We need a resolution to dispose of the old equipment. A 2012 Shark vacuum cleaner that's broken, a 1996 Canon typewriter, and a Radio Shack recorder that's broken.
Make a motion to dispose of all equipment.
Roll call?
Kiefer,
Aye.
Whitman,
Aye.
Bill, Smith, Murray.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstains.
Okay, so Justice Farley's air conditioner went bad at the end of August. She purchased a window unit. Nick and I came down and we put it in. It just doesn't fit in there right. It needs a through-the-wall use air conditioner. So she purchased the proper one. It's a little bit bigger. And in the meantime, she had the fire department buy it for 100%. But Andy Butler was gonna come and install it, and it still has not been installed.
I don't think she needs it before June.
I know, but she has,
Big hole in the.
yeah, she has the window one that the fire department's already purchased in there still.
They want to take it out.
Well, I mean, they did pay 100% for
Yeah,
it.
right.
So we have the new one sitting there in the back of the room. And we need to either put some insulation in there and take the old one out and do it in the spring, or get someone here to do it soon.
So the other one's gone, because we just took the pole?
No, the other one's still there.
Still there.
And
That's
she's,
in the hole for now.
she's used it, and the fire
Wait, bring and
department's.
take it out.
Yeah. I think it needs to be taken out and something stuffed in there, if that's the route we're gonna go, because it's not sealed very well.
No cover over it. No cover on it.
No,
Does that one have a cover?
no. It's for the one that goes in the window, where you put the window down on, it's made for that.
No, but does this new one have one?
No.
So garbage bags are made for.
Can we just take that out for now?
Yeah, we could put some
We'll cover it
insulation
up.
and some plywood or something in there.
If I may, just jump ahead just a little bit while we're talking with all of this. Last month, we talked about going downstairs and just filling in where the old heaters and stuff were, to be replaced in the basement. I told them I would do that. I went downstairs and started working on it, and the first thing we ran into were the bottom plates for most of the inside, interior, exterior walls. The plates are rotted right off completely. There's nothing there. The whole wall just sits there and flops at the bottom. Now, I didn't have authorization for extra money for repair for that, and that's why we stopped at that particular time. That's why I'm bringing it to the board now, to ask them what they would like to do with it. Also, with cutting out some of that sheetrock, the mice have been into it. We've seen all kinds of things in just that one spot that we opened up. But there are spots along that wall downstairs, along this wall, where the sheetrock and everything just flops back and forth. bottom plate is completely rotted off. Originally, it wasn't, they didn't have pressure treated then. It was just a piece of rough cut lumber that was used to put on the floor and was pinned, and water and moisture and stuff has gotten into it and rotted it up. So there's more work than just going down and replacing 3 small pieces of sheetrock that we had anticipated, and we're into that area now where, how far do we want to go?
Well, we probably need to hire a contractor to cut up 2 or 3
We
feet,
talked about
put
that
some studs
before.
on and put your plate back down, all pressure treated.
Re-insulate it. And also, unbeknown to us, they said that water had been coming in on a hard rain over on this side on the floor periodically. We went outside and looked at it. The downspout runs down into that corner, and a pipe goes right down across here where it must run water out of it and right down the wall. On the outside, it must be leaking back through. There's some areas underneath the ramp out here where the moisture and stuff is leaning back toward the building instead of away from it. It's something that has to be addressed in the spring and the summer for sure. So just so you understand why we stopped and didn't continue on, and how far you want to go. We can continue, but I need authorization or whatever to.
Do you want to?
I love a challenge.
Okay. I didn't know if it was more than you wanted to. So.
No, it's just being able to have the material and stuff, and the town know there's going to be a cost to it. It's not going to be, you know, I had sheetrock I was going to bring, which I did from home, whatever, just to fix those spots was bigger than that. So.
If you want to do it,
Okay.
that'd be very helpful to the town.
Okay, if that's agreeable with.
Anybody wants to work for free, it's great.
You're the contractor.
Well, you were coming to help with your budget.
Yeah, thank you, we appreciate it.
They tell me to stay off ropes and stuff.
We're not going to the
And along with that, we'll take
Did you-
that out and
yeah,
cover up
put-
that hole too.
Okay, so you'll take care of that.
Dean, how bad was the mold down there?
I didn't really see any mold per se, it's just where it had rotted off.
Okay.
There was plastic put up years ago, which was kind of a good thing for a vapor barrier and stuff in there, but actual mold, I didn't see it.
Okay.
And
I knew
we
you talked about it
anticipated that
before,
last time
yeah.
we talked about that.
Right.
I did not see any. One other quick note along with that, and probably would have to get the code enforcement officer in to see if it's even legal to do. Where the bathrooms are, we have 2 heaters in the bathroom that are being used to keep it semi from freezing over the winter months. There's a door on each bathroom. If somebody goes down and opens up the door, that heater now is heating all the space out into this big room as well. I guess the question for the code enforcement officer would be, can a door be put in that space where you go from the large room into the restrooms? And that would stop some of that heat loss maybe coming out into the big room. Maybe it's not an issue, it's just food for thought.
Yeah, we've been putting signs on the bathroom doors to
Yeah, well,
keep it closed.
How about putting a door closer on two of the doors? So they don't have to be strong enough to actually latch the door, but just to swing it back around when somebody leaves.
It'd probably be cheaper than Oh, I also talked with the justice about programmable thermostats. Like for this room, we could program, you know, Mondays at 8 AM to turn on and then shut off. Our offices on different days. And I wouldn't mind installing those.
you're gonna have to find it for electric heat though,
Yeah,
because they're different. And I don't know if these are line voltage or low voltage.
they're
do you know?
24 volt.
I think they're line voltage.
No, they're low voltage, because then they go down to the panel box and there's.
Yeah, relay up.
You gotta relay on them. So it wouldn't be that big a deal. We just need to find ones that have 7 days, not 5/7. if that's okay. And then, there's a window at the bottom, if you start down the stairs.
Your list is
And
getting
the-
awfully long.
The air is coming.
Your list
right
is
in.
getting awfully long.
Well, put something over that.
One at a time, one at a time.
So bad for you have a pie.
I just need to get insulation and wrap the whole inside of this building. So do we need a resolution, or are we good on that, just to let Dean fix?
Yeah, that being just continued from last month.
And then to close out the year, I'd like to get, our boards filled. So the planning board needs a member, and then the ZBA needs 2 members. So I was thinking we could put an ad in the paper, maybe try to get the boards filled back up.
I'll make a resolution, put an ad in favor for 1 planning board member.
One second.
Roll call?
Kiefer, Whitman,
Aye.
Belt, Smith.
Gonna include
Aye.
both of them in one ad though, right? Gonna include both of
Yeah,
them.
well,
No,
yeah, we
Can't include both of them in one ad?
you shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
They're separate. They're 2 different boards.
we don't want people to confuse.
It's not.
People get confused enough about the difference between the planning board and the ZBA.
I'll make a resolution, to place an ad in the paper for 2 ZBA board members.
Second.
Murray,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Belt,
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Aye, 0 nay, 0 abstain.
Okay, and then last month we discussed the assessor's home. And Sue spoke with Holly, and, they just figured that we'll keep things as they are. That she doesn't need an extra phone. So, one thing that I did need to add on is the highway department's healthcare. That's up for renewal on December 1st. And the deductibles are staying the same. And we actually give a check to Key Bank for those deductibles. And last year, when Baldwin's took over, they gave a check of $2,200 and $4,400 for the Key Bank for their health care. And when I was reviewing things this month, the actual union contract says $1,500 and $3,000. So I included a spreadsheet of the rates, yearly costs, and deductibles, and then a copy of the union contract.
So that's what we're gonna be paying, right? The 1,500 and the 3,000?
Well, that's up to you guys.
We just started by the contract.
I think last year, Sam, took over December 1st, and
Right,
it was just a recipe for disaster for her.
right.
So would we not follow the contract before?
Paying more than what the contract required.
Now, just the contract, it does state the employer shall pay the full cost of the individual plan. Could that be interpreted that we'd pay for their deductible too?